Hamilton has just released two new khaki aviation models, one coming in at 36mm and the other coming in at 42mm. And today we're going to be talking about both of these watches, but we're doing it from probably the most beautiful place in the world. We're doing it from Scotland. Welcome back to the Chisholm Hunter channel. My name is Harrison as always. And firstly, I need to apologise. I did film this whole thing in Scotland, this whole thing in Glencoe, and it kind of sounded like this. Oh, it's so beautiful. So unfortunately, we just can't use it. But anyway, let's crack on with the specs of these watches. Okay, so first things first, these models come in at 42mm and 36mm. Now, due to these models being pretty much pilots' watches, I mean they're aviation watches, they don't really have a bezel, and this makes the face on these watches look a lot bigger. And for that reason, I do believe that the 36 suited my 6.5-inch wrist that little bit better. The 42 was just a little bit too big for me, a little bit too spacious, and I can understand why they've done that, for pilots to easily tell the time, but it's just not for me. The thickness of these watches is pretty damn incredible. I love thin watches. I think everybody loves thin watches, and I think the watch industry and the watch enthusiasts are becoming more accustomed to thin watches. The 36mm variant comes in at 11.15mm in thickness, pretty damn thin, and the 12 or 42mm variant comes in at 12.10mm in thickness. Both of them are very slim, both of them sit really close to the wrist, and both of them are pretty damn sexy. The lug width on the 36mm variant comes in at 18mm, whereas the lug width on the 42mm variant comes in at 20mm. Okay, great. So now that we've covered the basic specs, let's dive into the different variants that you can get in these models and also the different tech bits that I noticed. I had these watches for around 2 weeks. I got some good wear out of them. So let's see what I noticed about these watches when they were on the wrist. So in terms of variations, you have 4 variations of the 36mm variant. You have a blue dial with a gold PVD case, which has kind of a pinky leather strap. You then have a white dial, or a kind of really bright white silvery dial with a stainless steel case and a white strap. Then you have a blue dial mixed with that bracelet, which is actually pretty damn good, and the black dial, which we had on the wrist with that bracelet as well. When you flip over to the 42mm variants, you only have 3 variations to choose from. You have a blue dial with a bracelet, a green dial with a brown leather strap, and the one that we had was the silver dial with stainless steel case and also a lighter brown leather strap. If I were to choose a watch out of both of these categories, in terms of the 36, I would probably go for the one that I had on the wrist. I'd probably go for the black dial. But on the 42mm, I would probably go for that dark camel khaki green. There's something about military watches being in a kind of dark camel color that's really cool. But also, when you get bright colors, they kind of allude to a bigger surface, even though there might not be a bigger surface there. And I'll give you an example of this. When you wear dark clothes, for example, black or very, very dark blue, it camouflages size. So I would like a darker color paired with that 42mm because it is more on the chunky side. I think that silver makes it look bigger than it actually is. And on that note, it is time for the wrist check. What is on your wrist today? It's a Chisholm Hunter tradition spanning back 2 years now. So let me know in the comments what is on your wrist. Do you have a Hamilton on? Do you have this Hamilton on? Let me know in the comments. Currently, I have a Garmin on, which will come as a surprise for a lot of people. But honestly, see, in terms of tracking, it's really, really good. In terms of tracking my fitness, in terms of tracking my runs, it's brilliant. I didn't connect it to my phone because I don't want to be ping, 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 ping notified when anybody messages me. I'm trying to distance myself from my phone, but I think in terms of a tool, this is quite good. I'm not for smartwatches usually, but this is growing in me. The case and the bracelets on all of these models come in stainless steel, apart from that kind of rose goldy PVD one that you can see in the 36mm range. And what struck me about these models that was really surprising is the lightness of them. They were super, super light, and that kind of made them a lot more wearable, especially the bigger one. However, I would still prefer the 36mm variant. When we look into the detail of the dial, for example, with the silver one that we had, you can see two rings. You can see an inner disc and then an outer disc. The outer disc has big, bold numerals, which count the seconds, and the inner disc has smaller numerals, which counts the hours. Now, this is going to be a love or hate for a lot of people, and I would truly love to know what you think on this, because I couldn't quite get my head around it. And I understand why they've done it, but I couldn't quite figure it out. The day and the date window are both at the 3 o'clock mark, and this actually doesn't bother me, and I know that that's weird coming from me because I do prefer 6 o'clock date windows, but when there's a day and a date function, it does look better at the 3 o'clock window, even though it puts the dial kind of off balance in my eyes. It looks better than if it was at 6, because if you had both of them at 6, the day and the date, it would look too cramped at the 6 o'clock mark, despite the symmetry aspect. But then again, the symmetry wouldn't be there as much if they were both at the 6 mark, because the kind of letters to the date would all be different. That's just me waffling, but you guys get what I mean. Both of these watches are water resistant to 100 meters, which is pretty damn good. I don't know why you would take a pilot's watch in the water anyway, but it's good that it has 100 meters of water resistance. And also it has sapphire crystal glass on the glass of these watches are sapphire crystal. Should have rephrased that. And the cool thing about it is that there's actually double layered anti-reflective coating on the glass. And this made them really, really good to film, especially in soft light. Sometimes you can get watches that you come in, and I try to film them in the studio, and they just are so harsh. The glass is so reflective, but these were really good. They were highly readable and highly legible. And if you think about it, the reason that they've done this is so that pilots at a glance can see exactly what time it is and not be distracted by the glare, by the flare from their watch. So in terms of functionality, they've really put the pilots at the forefront. The movement in this model is the H30 automatic movement with about 80 hours of power. It has 25 joules, a Vacheron balance spring, which helps better resist this watch to magnetic fields and also temperature variation and shocks. It's just a nice thing to have. Now, something that a lot of people don't know about Hamilton is that they were actually chosen to time the first US airmail flight between New York and Washington, D.C. This happened in 1918, and that gives Hamilton quite an extensive history with aviation, and you can definitely see it coming through in these models. Now listen, to me, these models aren't quite perfect because I am not a pilot. However, if you are a pilot or if you have a passion for aviation, I can definitely see these models being a really, really nice fit. Now, to sum up, all of these watches come in around about the £900 mark. But for what you get, that's actually pretty damn good. I'm not for these watches out of personal preference, but in terms of the styling, the aviation functionality, and the kind of design aspect, I think Hamilton have done really, really well here. And they've created an affordable luxury watch that does the job. But I would love to know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. I'd love to have that conversation. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Harrison as always, and this is the Chisholm Hunter channel. And we'll be back in a couple of days.